What's up, guys?
What's happening, fellas?
Some a lot of stuff going on in the crypto markets, that's for sure. Where are we going to start?
I think we should
Whoa,
start with Ethereum.
sounds good to me. Looks like the whole world is starting to swing back that way.
Yeah, I think Ethereum's looking really solid. One of our sell triggers hit, I believe, overnight at around 0.05. So that is awesome. Always love taking profit. I think this has room to run, but I would love to see a pullback. I don't know if I'm going to get it though. So
So you think we're off to the races, like point of no return?
well, Tyler, I'm sure you remember, but Rishi, I don't know if you would, but Jason from Telegram now has a Twitter account, and it's Jason from TG, or at Jason from TG. But yeah, you know what he was talking about was the Livermore accumulation cycle, a Livermore accumulation cylinder, and that's been going on since basically the start of 2020. And then we're finally at the phase where you get the markup, and you typically don't get pullbacks during that markup because you're pricing the market out of that phase. And so that's where we're at right now. I think we'll see. The first test in my mind is this like 0.05, 0.055 area. I think we're going to encounter some good resistance there, and we're not. It would be tough to just blow through that. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, Eth is looking really good from a macro perspective, and everything I'm seeing, like Suzu and Uncommon Core, Kobe, all these people are just like gig along Eth. So even if it doesn't just like start tearing through resistance levels, I think it's on its way up now.
So do we know why Eth is running here? We anticipated it. I mean, we really did. We felt like this was coming, but what did we think was the reason it was going to happen, and is that actually happening right now? What's the reason that Eth is running?
Well, I think that like when all the news around Bitcoin and institutions buying, from all my contacts at the OTC desks, they had a whole lot more institutional interest for Ethereum than they did Bitcoin, right? So institutions were buying up way more ETH than they were Bitcoin. And they don't really have to declare ETH on their balance sheets because they can use it as like an operational, they can just kind of lump it in as like an operational asset, depending on how they're using it. And so nobody really had to declare the purchase of Ethereum, whereas like Bitcoin, they kind of had to list that out separately. And then on top of the institution, like the supply being bought up, not just by institutions, but like even Grayscale has been purchasing up Ethereum, and there's no method to sell that ETH, right? And the Rothschilds bought a ton of ETH through Grayscale, like the Grayscale holding. And so you've got all this ETH that's being locked in Grayscale in ETH 2.0 staking contracts to where you can't sell that ETH. And then you've got the new EIP that came out that is coming out that is basically going to have like the depreciate and make it to where S going to go from an appreciating supply to like an inflationary to a deflationary model. And so it's like you have all these things that are just like coming together, and the whole idea is that like it's not priced in. Like you can't price it in because the institutional investment is privileged knowledge. We don't know how EIP is going to actually work, like when it goes through. And then we don't know like what's going to happen during an alt season where all of these things are going up tremendously and everybody's having to like sell out into Eth through decentralized exchanges. And now all of a sudden, all the F's being pulled from these automated market makers, right? Because how do you get the best yield on automated market makers? You deposit Eth. And so it's like, there's just going to be a huge supply shortage at a certain point. And I think just now that everybody's positioned appropriately, they're ringing the bell. I don't know. That's how I feel.
It's been a slow move. I mean, like years. Like, you know, if you look at that chart, you know, it's a long trend, and over the last 2 to 3 years, you've had so many people really kind of just hating on that, and but the pieces have been being laid. You know, the bricks have been being laid the whole time. And if you know about the technology and you know about the ecosystem, you know what's going on and you know what you need Eth for. And as the whole world kind of wakes up to that, you know, things are going to change.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at that,
that's where that price is going.
Where you think it's going?
I was just saying, I think that's why that price is going up right there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, if you look at that period, that's from like middle of 2018 to today, that's like an 1,000-day consolidation period. So breaking out of that will be massive. But another thing I saw that was really fascinating, and I haven't really dug through all of it, but I actually just sent it to the partner calls Discord. The second one is worth pulling up. This dude put a 79-page thesis together on why, like the bull case for Ethereum, and he summarized it in a one-pager as well. And so, just some of the key highlights from that is that staking and DeFi, locked up right now, make up about 12% of the market cap, but incentives will bring that to at least 30% in the near future. New on-ramps for retail and institutional flows via Robinhood, PayPal, Venmo, futures, etc. You got the triple halving event, which I think we talked about last time, but basically EIP 1559 expected in July, and then proof of stake, which is like ETH 2.0, expected towards the end of this year, will bring a 90% reduction in issuance, which is the equivalent to like 3 halvings for Bitcoin. And so that alone is like definitely not priced in to where Ethereum is right now. And then lastly, you know, narrative adoption. With the price going up, that's going to lead people more people to buy it. And so so all those things are kind of reasons why what he's saying is like his base case is 30 to 50K per Ethereum, but his bull case is 150K by the beginning of January 2023. So I mean, I think I'm going to take some time and do like a pretty big deep dive into that report just to kind of see. But I saw this yesterday and it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and we've been positioned for this move that we're seeing in Eth, which is really the way I kind of think about it is Eth, you know, kind of making its move or taking a turn or cutting a corner on Bitcoin. And I think one way or another, we're seeing value flow in, through, or around Bitcoin and into Eth. And it's kind of just, to me, a sign of the times, a sign of evolution in this ecosystem and evidence of a building process. Eth is really like bricks, and you can do a lot with it. And so I think the pieces are being put together, and when people kind of realize that, hey, this is a big thing and it's moving forward, a massive amount of value is going to flow into that effort. And I think it's going to be attractive to a lot of the traditional theoretical institutions, right? Not actual institutions necessarily, but the institutions of thought, traditional, how do we do things? You mentioned the Rothschilds, just the transfer of one generational kind of societal approach and kind of movement into the new world. I think it's going to attract a lot of old world order, and that's a lot of money. Market cap. Does Eth deserve to be a larger overall market cap than Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, they got a larger supply, more utility.
Okay, so
Kobe.
Sorry,
go ahead. Yeah, Kobe on this Uncommon Core podcast talked to Suzu about that, and I think one of the things he mentioned also was the fact that with all of these halving events taking place towards the end of this year, the thing about Bitcoin that's really appealing is that it is fixed supply. There's only going to be 21 million ever. But with the fee burns for post Eth 2.0 and EIP 1559, you can actually have a deflationary Ethereum, where more Ethereum is being destroyed every day than being issued. And I think that's a very powerful feature that makes it even more sound as a digital store of value than Bitcoin potentially. And so he was just talking about how there's the possibility that while Bitcoin has been the digital store of value up until this point, Ethereum can ultimately be that ultrasound money as well, plus all the utility that it has that Bitcoin doesn't. And so I do think his projection was that it flips Bitcoin pretty towards the end of the cycle, either immediately before or after it, and then goes back below it. So it doesn't sustain elevated market cap above Bitcoin.
Okay. Cool. Any final thoughts on Eth before we jump along?
We're going to flip in Bitcoin.
All right. So flippening is in order. There are many kinds of flippenings that can happen. But when a flippening happens, that flippening just happened. All right. Speaking of, kind of along the same lines, market cap number 3 at one point for a little while a few weeks ago was Doge. Okay, Doge actually made it up to the number 3 market cap, displacing BNB, displacing Tether. Which, if you kind of just think about that for a second, that happened. For a second, Doge displaced Tether. Some people would argue, that one is more reliable than the other for the same purpose it was created. I don't know. But Elon has called himself the Dogefather. I guess that's a self-proclaimed title.
He's also the techno king of Tesla.
That's also a self-proclaimed title. So, Saturday Night Live, May 8th. Oh, you think he's just going to be pumping Doge the whole time?
I think he's going to move the price of Doge in a way to where it looks like he's moving it without actually moving it. I'm yet to decide on whether he's going to make jokes and move the price and make it, or whether he's going to like pick up his phone and then all of a sudden the price is going to move and he's going to like put his phone down and then it's just going to like stop. And he's going to like pick his phone up and he's going to do some things and then the Doge is going to go up 5 cents and then he's going to stop, you know? But I think he's going to have some control in there, right? Like I think there's going to be, I think that it's not, I don't think it's going to be volatile. Like I think that for that period of time, he's going to have a whole lot of control over the market, or at least that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think there's another tweet. It was either right before or right after the one where he announced, the date where he said that. I guess he referenced to how live it was going to be, and so I saw that, and I think that's the thing that makes me wonder what it's going to be. And a lot of people have been around saying, "Hey, that you got to watch it." Like it's going to be a big event. And it's like, what? We're talking about Saturday Night Live, but it's Elon Musk. When have you ever had? He's a huge celebrity. He's a celebrity on a massive scale. And what the fuck does this mean?
The trader in me is like, if the price of Doge runs up until May 7th, you sell before the start of Saturday Night Live. Like, you absolutely sell. But it's Elon. And, you really don't know what he's going to do. So, yeah, you really don't know.
So the meta in me tells me that Elon sells right before Saturday Night Live. And then he's got all the dry powder to buy the dip and push it higher. And I think that's the Ultra Chad alpha move.
Well, I mean, he can probably do whatever he wants. He probably doesn't have to sell before his show to still buy the dip and still do whatever he wants. What's the market cap of Doge? I don't even know. Less than the market cap of Elon, that's for sure.
Almost 40 billion.
Yeah. Cool. Any thoughts on Doge before we move along?
One Doge equals one Doge. That's why I passed Tether. Better unit of account.
Yeah, technically it doesn't look terrible. Yeah, it's consolidating. It's definitely in a consolidating range, but it's consolidating at such a high price relative to its history that it's, why wouldn't it keep going up? Hasn't even hit $1 yet. All those people with a million Doge aren't millionaires yet, so Elon's going to do his.
If it's orchestrated the way that I want it to, then Doge is going to trend up from institutions and big crypto OGs buying, waiting on the pump. Elon's going to dump on them, and I'm going to get Wi-Fi, 4 Bitcoin per Wi-Fi. I'm going to sell my Wi-Fi. I'm going to buy Doge back at like 18 cents. Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
I can't wait for Wi-Fi to start flipping Bitcoin. It's close. It's going to happen soon.
It may happen. It may be the thing that that run up kind of kicks off, or really either kicks off or you're in full blown DeFi summer at that point. I'm really excited about just watching crypto unfold this season with the velocity that it has this year, with the velocity that it has, and just seeing how things are happening. And it's mainstream. It's a yearly thing now. It's going to be probably have multi-year bull markets and bear markets, but I mean this is a new active market, just like the stock market, that has character all year round. Any quick thoughts on Bitcoin's recent sell-off? I think we spiked down. We spiked down below 50. You know, I was telling people to buy the dip because, you know, with the action that we've seen, it wasn't surprising that we dipped down. But is that healthy? Did we stop where we needed to? Are we still going down further? From a technical analysis and just from what you guys are feeling, where are we at?
I mean, this looks terrible, but I don't think it's over. But it looked like how it's kind of shaping, rounded down. It looks like it's getting ready to go parabolically the other direction. I don't think that's going to happen, but like it looks terrible. I mean, even if you look at the volume, like that looks terrible. But I don't know. I don't think it's over.
Ro, where are you at?
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's not as terrible in my mind as it looks right now. However, if we lose like 52.5, you know, if we start going down from here, in my mind, we've dropped. We went through a resistance level, and then now with that recent spike over the last couple of days, we're back above that resistance level. And so, you know, it wasn't, or I'm sorry, we broke through a support level. We're consolidating a little bit, and then now we're back above it. And so hopefully it holds the support and the party continues. But if I were a betting man, I would not be long Bitcoin here. I could definitely see us sweeping the lows, 45, and then potentially go, if we go into the mid 30s, you know, that's definitely an all in Bitcoin moment for me. Yeah, I think it'll give Eth the reason to just kind of pump and run. And then as soon as that kind of cools off, then yeah, all in Bitcoin and just kind of hold it, if you will.
So Facebook, like if you saw that big green candle that was, you know, it was 4 candles back, but that was because the rumor was Facebook was going to disclose yesterday at the end of the day that they owned Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other cryptocurrencies, but mainly Bitcoin. And they didn't disclose yesterday. And the market just tanked after at end of day, and they didn't disclose. But then first thing this morning, Fox Business is sharing rumor that Facebook has bought Bitcoin. So, you know, I don't know what to think, but yeah, that was everybody kind of tried to front run Facebook, and then Facebook kind of cucked everybody. I bet they bought the dip.
Let's talk about HNT if we can. It's been a minute since we've looked at it from a technical basis, from a price basis. And we've had a couple of at least one really big announcement this week, coupled with some leaks, kind of, I guess, no official announcement, but some kind of important pieces here and there. So you guys want to talk about Helium?
From my perspective, yeah, we definitely saw some fundamental drivers. The big thing with 5G, you know, that's huge. And then some leaks. I think you're talking about Starlink, SpaceX's Starlinks, testing their stuff on Helium. And yeah, that's huge. I think absolutely massive potential. And then with SpaceX actually testing stuff with Helium, it just means that like Elon knows about Helium, and you know, that's huge in and of itself. So fundamentally, super bullish. technically, I'm waiting for confirmation. Right now, the way I view this chart, it kind of looks like a Wyckoff distribution pattern with a bunch of consolidation around the beginning of April. You broke down, and then you're retesting that same level as consolidation, as resistance. And so we haven't really definitively broke that resistance level yet. And it kind of seems like we're selling off a little bit right now. So yeah, that would be like a confirmation of a Wyckoff distribution pattern, which would be like an optimal entry for a short. But you are getting a lot of news on this. And once news hits, that things change really quickly with a project like this, which is still, relatively in its infancy, a newer project, if you will. So yeah, I would say I'm still a little skeptical of believing, if you will, believing. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I believe.
Yeah. So what do you believe, Tyler? What do you believe?
I mean, I feel like we test. So like the linear trend of the log chart, we tested that. Like we broke down out of the parabola and we tested the linear trend twice. And we didn't close below the trend, and we like bounced off of it. And we're not really like the thing I guess that makes me nervous is that like we didn't respond to 5G the way that I feel like we should have busted it back in the 20s, and we didn't. So that makes me believe that we're in a bullish accumulation. Because it would have been more dangerous if we would have busted back into the like 32, 34. If we would have busted back up to there, then it might have made me feel like and got rejected. It might have made me feel like, okay, this is actually getting a little heavy. But the fact that like we never really dumped hard, and it doesn't really like seem like the people in the community want to dump. Like listening to everybody, like everybody's planning to hold. So I think this is super bullish. Like the fact that we're kind of like sitting flat against the all-time, like against the high, and we're accumulating. And then you look at that sell volume that is kind of happened recently. I guess it'll be people selling the news, but like all sales are being absorbed. Like the volume, the sell volume is way high, much higher than previously on the chart. But the price is holding up. So I think we probably see mid 20s in like second week of May.
Mid 20s, couple weeks from now.
Yeah.
Tyler, this is probably going to be a dumb question, but explain the bottom orange, I guess, accumulation distribution line. What does that represent? What does that mean? How do you look at that, and what does it tell you?
So as it's getting near the top, it's been being accumulated. There's been not a lot being sold. There's been, it's being bought off the exchange. Like takers, orders are getting grabbed. I don't know. I feel like distribution would be the opposite way, right? Like market taker, like when it's being accumulated, it's being bought up. When it's being distributed, the supply that's being sold is higher than the amount that's being bought, or at least that's how I view it.
So it's like there's more. The sellers are out. They're out there creating the orders. that are getting filled, whereas the opposite accumulation would be the buyers are out looking to fill their bags and they're setting the price and sellers are showing up. But how?
So
I mean,
for
sorry, Ryan, go
that
ahead.
specific indicator, it's a lot like OBV on balanced volume, and it's just a cumulative track for every period, in this case days, of if the price went up that day, then it adds the volume to the previous day. If the price went down, then it subtracts the volume. And so it's just an accumulative indicator that says over this period, this price has been accumulated more than, or this stock or whatever has been accumulated more than distributed. And typically that's because the price has gone up. The most valuable use case in my mind for OBV and these things are for divergences, when the price goes up, but OBV or accumulation distribution doesn't go up as well, which is kind of what we're seeing right here. Right, the price has gone up since whatever, December or whatever, but OBV or accumulation distribution hasn't gone up since the middle of March. And so to me, that says the first week of March was like that was like people were buying. And then some large sellers started stepping in, selling some of their positions. And the price still goes up, right? That's okay. But the volume, there's been larger volume days on down days than on up days.
Interesting. Okay, so that would the situation would point to potentially some large sellers. Now, we know that really with any newer project, and it's not a brand new project, but it is a new project. It's not widely held, on different exchange pairs. So, what do that kind of implies to me that you've got, it's all still in-house. It hasn't been distributed to retail people or, everyday people, regular investors. Who's selling it? I mean, is this the natural way of things here?
I don't know who would be selling it. There are people who got into Helium super early on. They didn't have like a bunch of hotspots or anything, but they just were like, hey, I've seen this thing, looks pretty interesting. Started mining it back when there were only like a couple thousand miners, and just raked in a bunch of rewards. And so, if you do that early enough and you see some returns, and then, they could definitely be selling it. $20 is a pretty, it's a psychologically important level. So yeah, that's if you start seeing some gains, it makes sense to step in. One more thing on accumulation distribution, it's not a perfect model or a perfect indicator, because if a candle is a doji, which means it basically closes right where it opened, those candles are typically very high volume days. And if it closes just a little bit above the open, then all of that volume will be positive. And if it closes just a little bit below, all of that volume will be counted as negative. And so it's not a perfect indicator.
I don't think that's a flaw, though, right? Like that's kind of a good thing, right? Like that means they fought, and the bull won.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the biggest money game.
Sometimes, though, maybe more so in Forex, but sometimes you'll see like a doji that's positive, which gives bulls a slight chance, but it's really like the seller is in control and they just chose to close it slightly positive to
see. I'm more interested. So, like, if you look, right, the distribution bottomed out on April the 10th, which is where the current price action is. So, if you look at that, right, all of the major distribution occurred from March the 10th to April the 10th. At March the 10th, the price never got back down to where the seller started selling.
Totally.
Like the price never achieved where the seller started selling. And so it's like now we're at the top of the distribution and we're right there at that price action. And we've had all this accumulation to get us almost back up to here. And we're still kind of at that price. Like, I just feel like somebody's going to want to buy back. They thought they were going to buy a dip and they never got it.
Yeah, it's not a perfect indicator. Like it's OBV accumulation. It's nothing is 100%. So even the divergences, while they're valuable, are not like game proof. And so, for me, it's again, where I'm at is like, we're at a resistance level right now. Until we break through it and retest it, ideally, that would be my entry point. And so yeah, we're just retesting resistance from the downside, which, if you are not a fundamental believer in Helium, it would be a good short. But yeah, coupled with the news, I do agree with Tyler though, like the 5G news and like the Starlink rumors and just kind of leaks, those are massive. It's pretty shocking to see price just kind of stall below all-time highs, despite the news. So,
well, and that is very peculiar to me too. Couple things to think about. It's kind of hard to get where if you've got to kind of you can't just go get it, right? And it's kind of hard to understand. I mean, it's a real big deal, but to really wrap your head around it, it's kind of hard to fathom. And like these newer concepts, they have to find their place in the crypto ecosystem valuation of things. And this project in particular has largely participated in the crypto ecosystem, not being a part of the larger market. It's not, there's not a huge like HNT to Eth link or community thing. There's not, it's not heavily dependent on BTC and the price action. It's been a relatively independent crypto project. Getting kicked into the top 100 market cap has changed that a little bit. It's begun to react more so with the ebbs and flows of the market. And I believe that timing really kind of happened in that first week or two of March when all the volume picked up and all that. But, I think that who's buying, but then who's selling, because it looks like the market is not in control to me. It looks like
there's an individual that's running this chart.
Right. And I don't know if that's like a market maker or if that's the, like whoever has like the inner team, or whatever. So
is it Google Ventures?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it could be. I mean,
Mark Benioff.
Well, it could be all of them.
Yeah. Do Amir and like the C-level team here have a lockup?
I don't know all that.
I mean, this project's been going around since like 2014, 2016 maybe. So I don't know. Like if there was a lock, like I don't know how long, because like the tokens have been. There was a token that was live before HNT.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like there's a myriad of people who could sell. Even though this is not a widely held project, that just means the hands are concentrated. And whenever you have a run from $1.50 to $20, like people will take profit, no matter what, and it just sound principles, just take profit on the way up. That way you can't go broke. And so yeah, I'm pretty surprised that the announcements have not pushed it up, which make me pretty bearish on Helium. It's like, if there was anything that was going to push it up, it's 5G, because that marries the technology perfectly. And then couple that with SpaceX, the hottest name there is, Elon in the world. It's a little concerning.
Yeah, my understanding of this whole thing is, they want to do Helium on the front end and Starlink on the back end. So some sort of like dual partnership. And, I guess I need to look a little bit more into it to really understand everything. But that's super awesome. So what exactly is Elon going to talk about on Saturday Night Live? Because wouldn't it be badass if, there's like this Starlink prop or something like that. It's got a little some HNT atoms on it or something like that. What if he mentions Helium and Starlink? It's going around on Twitter right now. Like, I think who said, like, a couple of the Helium team people or something put it out there, just kind of low key, just like put a picture or two of some rigged equipment, and kind of drop Starlink in there. And I think Rohit, you said it. One of you guys said it earlier on this call that means that that Elon knows about Helium. That's huge. To me, that's huge. So really anything can happen. This guy, Elon, is going to have like more eyeballs on him on Saturday night than anybody in a long, long time. Probably since Trump left office. So what's he going to do with that time? What's his message? What's his purpose? But I don't know. I think it would be super cool, just to see what happens to crypto markets leading up to and during and after. And I just think it would be hilarious if you started talking about Starlink and Helium. I would just lose my shit completely.
What if he gets shut down? What if the SEC or somebody prevents him from, like?
There's no laws. There's no laws on that stuff right now.
You can't make rules and retroactively apply them. The SEC has no
legal recourse
over any non-security.
Maybe you brought up a good point. Like, maybe he's suppressing price. Like, maybe he's saying, I want more of this, and you just place some massive shorts. And unless you have a bunch of buyers, which, again, to your point, it's hard to buy, you can control the price a good bit. So maybe those leaks. So this is for me, like, those leaks with SpaceX is like, buy the rumor. There's not been an announcement. That's like we should be probably buying HNT, or like if you're accumulation, like this is where
a team member did post the tweet.
Right. But it's not an official, like, we've partnered with SpaceX. It's not like SpaceX has said anything. Helium's a little dog here. They're going to be playing with whatever, like trying to experiment. SpaceX comes out and says that, that's a different deal. So this is like a buy the rumor, but yeah, the fundamentals behind this project, I think, are getting better every day.
Oh, I just had a thought. Should this Starlink / SpaceX partnership, or marrying of technology to solve whatever this thing does, should that be like favorable and that were to move forward, I think, like, wouldn't SpaceX have to accumulate a lot of HNT? isn't that kind of how the network works? In order to actually use it, you have to have it.
Well, it would have to be like all of the miner manufacturers, because they would have to have they're going to have to like introduce the gate. They're going to have to like create the gateway to the blockchain.
Yeah.
So
So
they're going to have to burn. They're going to have to burn helium.
Yeah, and then just the demand for it. I mean, just like, I mean, it's got a pretty good system in place from an economics and supply system. So you're potentially looking at supply constraints, like, and
I think the timing of this is really, it kind of makes a little bit more sense as I'm putting it together. Beginning of April, we spike up to 20, go through the entire month, and we fail to break up above that initial high. We've had an amazing run up until this point, gained some media attention, and figured out some partnerships. And so whoever it was, whether that's the team, whether that's the company Helium, whether that's miners or whatever, I think the timing of it, like beginning of April to today, or yesterday or the day before, where they leak some of these images, yeah, I think I could totally see whoever needs to sell HNT to SpaceX or whoever, Freedom Fly or whatever. That's been going on. Like, that explains some of the volatility that we've seen. Is that helium has changed hands dramatically, starting in March, but really dramatically in April. And so, in general, the purpose of the market is to move money from strong hands or weak hands to strong hands. And so it seems like that could very well be in play here.
Well, and I don't know how good this calculation was, but there was a calculation that me and Rishi heard yesterday that all it takes is 8 million daily active users on the 5G network for that to create a halving effect on the HNT supply. So if you've got halving coming up in August, and then 8 million active users get onboarded onto the network for 5G, then essentially for like hotspot operators, they just went through 2 halvings. Supply double, that's a third halving. And then validators coming online, that's like a 2/3. So, half of a half of a half, and then 2/3 of that. I mean, 220, like that's a 12th. I mean, so you're looking at by next year, a hotspot miner should be mining 1/12 of what they're mining today.
does that include the growth of the number of hotspots?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
wait, hold on. Half, eighth, half, 1/24.
Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped that half. Yeah, 1/24.
Yeah. And so, this is crypto parabolic. This is where your 100x's come into account. Like, you can creep up on that over a decently, let's say 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, that's like 9 months away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of other factors that, I mean, of course, we don't know everything, but yeah, this is one of those things where if you dig into the supply of the actual token, you actually look at how this ecosystem works, and Bitcoin is easy. Well, I say easy. It's complicated, but it's understood widely. Locked supply, scarce. A lot of them are lost. People understand why the price is going up. It's easy to wrap your head around. I think the HNT version is a little bit more complicated. The Eth, setup is very complicated. Now with the new protocols and the new layers to change the way that infinite supply to potentially deflationary currency or whatever you want to classify it as. And with HNT, you've got pretty complicated, compared to Bitcoin, complicated to understand type of system. But if you dig in, you're looking at the period of time where supply goes through its greatest shock. And that's kind of how I see it. And so, whether it's 1/10 or 1/24th or 1/50th, whatever, just simple, economics 101. If you hold everything constant and you start removing supply, what happens? So, I think it's just a beautiful thing.
I think one thing that no one's considered like a lot is what Starlink can do is Africa. And I was listening on the Helium community chat the other day and listening to the Africans talk about how the speed of the internet that they're getting in their village from Starlink. And you're talking about if Helium and Starlink partner, like Africans already have a like their own crypto. Like they like crypto. But now you like give them something that actually has a utility for their like you give people in Africa the chance to buy a Starlink node and monetize their internet service to other people in the village. And like, that's so that's so huge. Like as Americans, we can't like, it's hard to even conceive that, right? Because like we're so Americentric, and it's like we only have 300 something million people of the 8 billion people of the world. If the Africans, if Starlink Helium partnership, and all of a sudden Starlink is giving all of these African villages fast internet and gives the people who own Starlink the ability to monetize the internet, then they're going to want to try. Then people are going to be saving up trying to get their own Starlink internet in Africa. I mean, it's like Helium is going to incentivize building out the African internet structure.
I didn't think about that because I was being too America centric and only thinking about things in my little bubble. But yeah, that's absolutely true. This is a network that's being built around the globe, so it's happening. It's cool. It's very, very cool. We might have to, Tyler, if you end up doing, your if everything plays out on Doge for you and you end up jumping back in at 18 cents, we're going to switch out your Bitcoin canvas back there for a Doge canvas. Cool. Any other thoughts on Helium, Eth, Doge, Bitcoin, any of the stuff that we've covered up until this point? Cool. All right. Sounds like everybody's gotten their thoughts out on that stuff. What else is on people's minds?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was just saying that like Ethereum is, I mean, it's front running expectations hard. So I mean, like, we could hit our little golden number here quickly.
Yeah. Where did we really start to get interested? If you can just kind of like lay that out or put your cursor on it, and then where is our golden kind of area in general?
So I think we were like
right there
around here. It's like we were bumping up against this support line.
Yep.
So we had like tested it there around February 16th. and I think we pulled the trigger. Then we
Yeah.
kind of like ran down.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, there's a lot of momentum, and I'm not necessarily talking about this chart. Um, just there's a lot of people are talking about it. It's people have watched the price of ETH move. If you're really paying attention, the price of Bitcoin is staying, between 50 and 60, approximately.
The only thing that I guess
And
makes me a little nervous, and like Rose said, the accumulation distribution is not a perfect model, but I mean, it's like it's getting accumulated like hard. So there's got to be a distribution event at some point. I mean, I guess there doesn't have to be, but typically there is.
who are the stronger hands? You guys said this. If the market is designed to take money from weak hands and give it to strong hands, or to distribute it, or to hand it off through the natural process of markets, who are the strong hands here that are accumulating?
Suzu on his podcast yesterday said they are one of the largest holders of Ethereum, probably in the world. And I was like, holy cow, that's amazing. But that being said, we just had that release yesterday with Kobe, who's a very well known ETH bull. We're seeing price really go vertical, not quite vertical, but like kind of start to. And again, that podcast dropped yesterday saying Suzu is like the biggest ETH bull there is. To me, that screams like I want a violent pullback. And so we just generated some Bitcoin from our sell trigger. If we get down to 0.04-ish, I would love to just re-up on that. I think we're in this part of the cycle where a lot of our triggers, or a lot of our second tier triggers, have started to kind of hit. Not all of them, but like kind of some of them. And I think we should really consider being a little bit more conservative from here on out. Still hold our positions like we do, but yeah, like Solana has gotten a little overextended in my opinion. Some of these valuations for like Serum being at $100 billion fully diluted, that doesn't make sense with Uni only being at 40 billion fully diluted. Yeah, I think I do want to be conservative, but kind of stick to our conviction plays as opposed to trying to get exposure to other areas in the market.
That makes sense. Cool. Any other thoughts? Got any other areas of the market you guys are looking at? Anybody still buying NFTs?
NFTs
So I was told that Polygon is like where it's at right now. I was told that last night, like, hey guys, start doing the DeFi on Polygon. And that basically, like, if we could go and produce some yield on Krill, I think it's the one that I was told on Polywell. Like Polywell's the platform, put it in the Krill tank and generate Krill is what I was told last night. So that it sounds like we may be going on a small little Polygon DeFi season, like a little brief period.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of mentions of Polygon. They partnered with Curve recently, and I think one other big DeFi exchange or DeFi protocol. That being said, prices skyrocketed to year to date, which is no reason not to get into it. But it started at 1 cent, 1.5 cents, and the price is currently 85 cents, which is a pretty astronomical return. And so I'm a little bit wary of that. But yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of that stuff in my feed as well. The only other thing I want to really talk about is Dig. I would love to stake Dig on Badger DAO. Had we been doing so, we would have gotten an airdrop about a week ago. And so the rest of the airdrop is going to be released the day before May 7th. And so I would definitely like to just, get some free money. I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah. So is that what you do to get free money? Stake Dig on Badger DAO?
Well, right now there's a bunch of airdrops going on in like obscure DeFi names, like just super obscure. But yeah, we don't have any exposure to any of those names. So, but we do have exposure to Dig, and so it's just like you might as well lock it up. I would anticipate the price of Dig rising until May 7th, and then followed by just a pretty sharp decline once everybody gets the airdrop and sells. So yeah, I think I would definitely be in favor of getting some free money via the airdrop.
Alrighty. Yeah, we're actually, as Pangea X, I mean, really, we haven't, we've been around for a while, but we haven't really participated in staking. Staking hasn't been really a big enough part of the ecosystem. I guess relatively, it has become a larger part of crypto ecosystems and in general, the way that projects run their blockchains, to include a staking element or, and it's evolved into a validation type of responsibility. And it makes sense. It's a good model, proof of stake. But we haven't really participated in that in an outsized way. We've done it a few times for a few different things that we've decided to hold for, a little bit more of a non-liquid period of time. And generally, we kind of had a wide exposure and not an ultimately high concentration into any particular asset to warrant staking as a responsibility at that point. But in simple terms, why stake? Free money? Is that the incentive that's really built in here to the general crypto market? Why stake?
You earn yield. Like depending on the staking contract, you can earn anywhere from like 10 to 12% yield on stablecoins up to quite literally thousands % yield on some obscure DeFi names. And so, yeah, that's why you stake. But also, because if you stake, you're locking up supply. In theory, it would support the price rising. And then if you do that, certain protocols or governance teams reward you via airdrops. Yeah, apparently like Ampleforth had an airdrop in last week or two where if you had ever transacted with Ampleforth, they dropped you like either like 20 to 40K like worth of airdrops. I'm not saying our Dig airdrop is going to be worth that, but it's just, there is potential. Like Uni was an airdrop. If you'd ever interacted with that protocol.
I interacted with Ampleforth and I got the airdrop, and my airdrop was not worth hardly anything.
Okay, right on. I just saw that on Twitter. I'd never interacted with Ampleforth, so maybe for particular users it was much higher. But yeah, like Uni's airdrop, everybody got the exact same amount, and now it's like worth $16,000, which isn't life changing, but it's a chunk of change. So it was $400. It was $400 at the time of the airdrop.
I think it's worth making the designation here. We're joking about free money, but this is not free money like printing money and, you know, people getting stimulus checks. That's like a completely broken system, right? Where you can control a monetary supply and do whatever you want and basically rug people. We're getting rugged by the Fed and the extended system. Um, and everybody, it's not uncommon knowledge. So when we talk about free money in crypto, we're not talking like that. That isn't what we're talking about. What we're talking about is making liquidity available to people so that it can be used even on the fringest of levels. It's kind of like the game of Monopoly, and I don't know where I heard this analogy or metaphor, but everybody knows how Monopoly works. You buy hotels and whatever, and you charge rent. You earn more money. You pass go. What is the pass go part? You get $200 every time you pass go. What is that? For doing what? For rolling the damn dice. You always get $200. What does that do? That enables you to participate in the system. It gives value to that. So that no matter what, everybody at least has an opportunity to get a start. Okay? And that's really what, when you're continuously rugging the American people or whoever holds the dollar, you know, any fiat currency. Okay? If you're continuously taxing people through inflation, you're rugging them. Okay. So it's different when we say free money or, hey, an airdrop. An airdrop is, well, this stuff was all created out of thin air. But if people find value in it and they give it value or it takes off, then you've just enabled people to build their own wealth, to build something of true value on just a platform. So whatever you do with that is up to you. You can still blow it. You can still go turn around and sell it for a bunch of shit coins and gamble it away, or you can actually do something with that. It depends on what you want to do that time around the board with that $200. So I mean it's a little bit of personal conviction, but there's a big difference. There's two different methodologies, probably more, but for this sake of this point, two different methodologies when it comes to free money. One is a reactionary type thing, which is not helping anybody, and one is a preemptive type of thing, which the whole idea there is give people the power to do something. So anyway,
well, let me tell you why I don't like it. So with an airdrop or with staking, you have income. Right? So there's an income tax there. If you start getting airdrops, then now you're almost liable for any airdrop that comes to your wallet. As long as you don't go and try to chase an airdrop, you're not liable for any of these other airdrops because you don't want them, you don't claim them, you don't care for them. But the second you start going and claiming airdrops, now you're liable for all the airdrops. Your income is at the value that it hits your wallet, not at the value you sell it. It's at the market value of it hitting your wallet. You can have a loss or a gain from that income, but you owe taxes on the income. The same with staking. It's like you stake something, but you never sell it. Like people that stake always sell at the wrong time. They're getting it, the price is going up. They're getting it, the price is going up. They're getting it, the price is going up. The price goes down. Oh, you owe all this income tax. And you can only declare so much of a capital loss. Only like, what is it, like $3,000, and then you have to pass the rest forward. So it's like, I feel like it's just a fruitless cause unless you know the network you're staking, because like that's what we're really investing in, is a network effect. And so like if you don't believe in the network, then there's no point in staking, because the strong hands are the people who created the proof of stake coin and created the airdrop and created it's like Cobain. He created Lido Finance. He gave the ability for everybody to give him all of their ETH, and he gave them this liquid staking token that now has a value to it that he has a lot of. And it's like he could utilize that and take advantage of the network, or he could sell it and then get more ETH. Like that's the strong hand, not the people who like got the airdrop or staked. It's the person that created the staking. Like,
I get that, but the whole like not doing anything for tax purposes doesn't make really much sense to me,
well, you
because
can put yourself at a total loss. Like you're like you could put yourself in a situation where you actually lose money and don't make any. Like, it's not your typical trading tax argument when you take into account airdrops and staking.
I mean, if you get anything, whatever value you get at, we can. I mean, I don't really care what we do with the airdrop. I would be all for holding it, because I do believe in Badger. I do believe in Dig. I think those are amazing protocols in the DeFi space that will ultimately yield a lot of value for us in the future. So I would be all in favor of holding this airdrop. But yeah, I don't get the argument. I don't really understand that argument of like not doing anything just because of the tax consequences of it. Because if you have a tax consequence, it means you made money
from an airdrop that then lost all of its value. So you get an airdrop at $10. You have income tax on the airdrop at $10, but then the price goes down to 80 cents. So now you owe more money in taxes than your asset's worth.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, I get that. I'm still interested in participating, but I'll put what do you guys think? I don't think it's going to crush us either way.
Yeah, I would just want to learn a little bit more about it and figure out what our staking period was. And we've done this a couple times before for some smaller projects, participating in a staking and determining what amount we want to keep liquid and how it all works. And this would be probably this would be kind of similar to some of the things that we've done before and for yield. But yeah, I'm open to kind of discuss that. I think we're kind of running out of time here a little bit today, though.
Well, is it a one-sided stake or is it a liquidity pool?
I think there was 3 options you could do. I think you could do a one-sided stake, but I think there are other options where you could do both.
Do you yield dig from staking dig?
I'd have to revisit the article. It was sometime over the last week, but I doubt it, because dig is block supply. You might yield Badger or something else, but yeah, when I was looking on the Badger DAO website, none of the yields were like super attractive in terms of like over 100% or whatever. They were generally like within the 10 to 30% area.
All right. We need to wind down here in a second, but got a few minutes for final thoughts. I'll throw my final thought out there for the week. I'm a little cranky today because I'm watching Coinbase stock just hover under $300. I'm down 25%, and I know they're not gonna pay me dividends or airdrop me anything. And I'm just beating myself up because Rishi probably just needs to stick to crypto. Coinbase is not crypto.
It's not. My final thought for the week is May 2021. It's the year of the ox and the month of the bull. Hey, it's a thing.
Tyler, final thoughts? What you got?
They say sell in May and walk away. And the amount of euphoria that like I feel, it's like, it's not peak euphoria, but it's OG euphoria, right? Like the masses they've made a little bit of money. Like I've heard my friends talk about making life-changing money, and it's just like, I know how much money they've made. They haven't made life-changing money. But we haven't hit peak euphoria. We're nowhere close. But the amount of euphoria in the market right now, like I think we get a good May. and then like June could suck.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be obviously we all like it when it goes up, but I love it when things get bad.
I do now. Like the other day, my friend sat there on that when the market just crashed. It's like I called you the day before. Like I was like, "Hey man, I think we're about to get rugged." Like I literally called you and I was like, "I think we're about to get rugged."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Don't put that vibe in my head, man." Like don't. It's like the next day the market just like tanked, and I was just like, "Man." But like I sat there and was like happy, and like none of my friends slept that night.
Yeah.
You got to live through a couple cycles. Changes the entire game.
Yeah. I mean, that's that OG mentality. All right, guys. Well, hey, great call. Enjoyed it. You guys have a great week.
Peace, guys.
See ya.